Good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to June 21st, 2017 Town Board meeting. Please rise for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Jeff Renahan, First Ward.
Bill Carlos, Second Ward.
Joe Conti, Third Ward.
Joseph Lepore, Fifth Ward.
Ann Shershen, Sixth Ward.
Alicia Salvatore, Town Clerk.
Jim Nelson, Attorney for the Town.
John Baisley, Town Supervisor. Welcome, everybody, tonight. The first thing on our agenda is a public hearing for Chapter 183 tax exemption for solar and wind farm. We're going to open this public hearing and then we're going to adjourn it to August 9th. We have a motion to open the first public hearing.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Who's in?
Since this is officially the public hearing, I'd like to make the same comments that I've told the board before. I am in favor of this law for the exemption to allow the town board to incur taxes for solar farms. These, again, people a lot of times complain about unfunded mandates by the state, and this is the state allowing you to collect taxes. So, again, I am in favor of this law. Thank you.
Thanks, Tony. Does anybody else like to discuss this public hearing? If not, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn this public hearing to August 9th.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. That comes to the end of our public hearings. And for tonight's agenda, number 2 is a promotion. It's going to be withdrawn at this time. Number 3 is authorize promotion of Joseph Cavalieri. Number 4, appoint Harley L. Curlis to police officer. Number 5, Dominic G. Mills, police officer. Number 6, Matthew G. North, police officer. Number 7, Guy F. Proper, police officer. Number 8, Jonathan Tiernan, police officer. Number 9, Daniel Regg, police officer. Number 10, appoint Charlie LaFranzenberger, part-time in assessing department. Number 11, appoint Lindsay Van Nostrand, a court clerk. Number 12 will be a presentation on a parking system for the police department. Number 13 is a tax surcharge for Macy's. Number 14 is a property maintenance for 20 Jerry Road. That will be pulled. It's being taken care of. Number 15, set a date for public hearing for a mobile home park code amendment, Chapter 210-83. Number 16, special use permits town code amendment, Chapter 210, set a public hearing date for that. Number 17, set a public hearing date for the excavation law. Number 18, appoint Anthony Balbo to Board of Ethics. Number 19, Locust Grove Antique Car Show. Number 20, ratify joint landfill airport clearing vegetation bid. Number 21, deputy zoning administrator will be withdrawn at this time. 22, accept 2017 minutes from the town clerk's office. 23, a notice of a claim, a lone rower versus the town. We have a motion to suspend the rules for any town board agenda items. Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody like to discuss? Doreen?
Comment on agenda item number 18, the appointment of Anthony Balbo to the Board of Ethics. I didn't see that posted on the town's website. I talked to the supervisor about that today. For years I've been asking how are residents supposed to know that these positions are available if they're not publicized. So in the future, I think that these types of positions, when they're available, should be on the town's website as well as on the municipal TV channel. Okay, so agenda item number 21 that was withdrawn, wasn't that position abolished by the town years ago, or the deputy zoning?
It was not filled when we had a full-timer. We're looking for a spot to put somebody in temporarily if the zoning administrator is out. That's why we pulled it to change the wording to try to get it to.
Okay, so the position was never abolished, it just wasn't filled?
Filled, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and then the agenda item number 10, the appointment to the assessing department of Charlotte Emberger. I also discussed this with the supervisor today, and I saw that it was a $17.62 an hour position, subject to probationary period, subject to civil service law, permanent part-time. So I asked Jay, if this was a civil service appointment, and he said no, because it was permanent part-time, so.
It's not a full-time appointment, that's why it's not off a test.
Right, because, yeah, it's permanent part-time, so that didn't need it, right?
Yep.
Okay. So, and again, since it appeared that this person potentially was related to the town comptroller, I thought that the job really should be advertised for everyone, and that it shouldn't just be that if you knew somebody in town hall that you had the opportunity to apply for this job. It has nothing to do with anybody's qualifications. I don't know this person. I don't know the qualifications. But again, I think the job should be available to all of the public. It should be posted, and people should be aware, and then a decision should be made. So, thank you.
Maureen. Is there anybody else that would like to discuss any item on the agenda? Not, can we have a motion to resume the rules?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Item 3, be resolved that the town board of Town of Poughkeepsie, I'm sorry. Chief, do you want him to come forward first before I read this resolution?
Yeah, he'll come up.
Okay. Be resolved that the town board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby authorize the promotion of Detective Sergeant Joseph Cavalier Jr. to the position of Police Lieutenant at the yearly salary of $110,318, subject to a probationary period of not less than 8 nor more than 26 weeks per civil service law, effective June 26, 2017. And be it further resolved that the town supervisor is authorized to execute and file all documentation required by Dutchess County Department of Human Resources in connection with this appointment. So move.
Second.
We have a motion second. Any questions on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0. Congratulations, Mr. Cavalieri. Mr. Carlos.
Be it resolved that the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby appoint Harley L. Carlos to the position of full-time police officer under the provisions of civil service law at the yearly salary of $58,072 effective July 3rd, 2017, which appointment is subject to a probationary period of not less than 26 nor more than 52 weeks per civil service law. Be it further resolved that the Deputy Supervisor is authorized to execute and file all documents required by the Dutchess County Department of Human Resources in connection with this appointment. So moved.
Second.
The motion second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Did you vote on that one?
I will vote yes on that one.
Motion passes 7-0. Congratulations. Mr. Conti.
Be it resolved that the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby appoint Dominic G. Mills to the position of full-time police officer under the provisions of civil service law at the yearly salary of $58,072, effective July 3rd, 2017, which appointment is subject to a probationary period of not less than 26 nor more than 52 weeks per civil service law. And be it further resolved that the supervisor is authorized to execute and file all documentation required by the Dutchess County Department of Human Resources in connection with this appointment. So moved. Second.
We have a motion second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Congratulations. Congratulations. Good luck.
Be it resolved, the Town Board, Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby appoint Matthew G. North to the position of full-time police officer under the provisions of Civil Service Law at the yearly salary of $58,072 effective July 3rd, 2017, which appointment is subject to probationary period of not less than 26 nor more than 52 weeks per Civil Service Law. And be it further resolved that the supervisor is authorized to execute and file all documentation required by Dutchess County Department of Human Resources in connection with this appointment. So moved.
Second.
Been motion second. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. Congratulations. Good luck.
Be resolved, the Town Board, Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby appoint Guy F. Proper Jr. to the position of full-time police officer under the provisions of Civil Service Law as a year's salary of $58.72 effective July 3rd, 2017, which appointment is subject to probationary period of no less than 26 nor more than 52 weeks per Civil Service Law, and be further resolved that the Deputy Supervisor is authorized to execute and file all documentation required by the Dutchess County Department of Human Resources in connection with this appointment. So moved.
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Resolved, the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby appoint Jonathan Tiernan to the position of full-time police officer under the provisions of the Civil Service Law at a yearly salary of $58,072 effective July 3rd, 2017, which appointment is subject to a probationary period of not less than 26 nor more than 52 weeks per Civil Service Law, and be further resolved that the Deputy Supervisor is authorized to execute and file all documentation required by the Dutchess County Department of Human Resources in connection with this appointment. So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. Congratulations. Luck. Be it resolved, the Town Board of Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby appoint Daniel A. Regg to the position of full-time police officer under the provisions of Civil Service Law, the yearly salary of $51,199 effective July 3rd, 2017, which appointment is subject to a probationary period of not less than 26 or more than 52 weeks per Civil Service Law. And be it further resolved, the supervisor is authorized to execute and file all documentation required by Dutchess County Department of Human Resources in connection with this appointment. So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. Congratulations.
Wait a minute there, Judge.
Give him a minute or two.
Give it a second.
The old turnout is kind of music. You know what? You know how I knew? Called me at home and said they're appointing me to start work Friday.
And you said thank you.
That's why I got stuck. So we just started here.
Town Supervisor. Well, the rest said Devin.
Have it, no
Oh, you know, that is such an easy thing to do.
I know, happens all the time.
flags. It's a big thing.
You got a lot of work to do,
Got a lot of work
Oh,
to
wow.
and you better get doing it.
Well, that's why I got stuck because that.
do. You know, that's it. Because she just.
What's that?
Well said, Jeff.
Okay. Be it resolved that the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby appoint Charlie LaFranz Emberger to the position of permanent part-time assessor's aide at the grade 4, step 1 salary of $17.62 per hour, which appointment will be effective June 26, 2017, and which appointment is subject to a probationary period of not less than 8 nor more than 26 weeks per civil service law. And be it further resolved that the town supervisor is authorized to execute and file all documentation required by the Dutchess County Department of Human Resources in connection with this appointment. So move.
Second.
Motion second. Any questions on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
11. This starts with be it further resolved. Am I missing something?
I think I would suggest dropping the word further, and I'll
Be it resolved that the
correct
town,
the typo.
okay. Be it resolved that the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby appoint Lindsay Van Osten to the exempt position of permanent full-time court clerk, grade 3, step 3, with the town court at the salary of $17.60 per hour, effective June 26, 2017, which appointment is subject to a probationary period of not less than 8, no more than 26 weeks per civil service law. And be it further resolved, the town supervisor is authorized to execute and file all documentation required by the Dutchess County Department of Human Resources in connection with this appointment. So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any questions on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. Brings us to number 12. Charlie? 12 is a presentation on a parking ticket program that we're looking at.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, just refresh your memory, we had a state audit at the end of last year of the court system.
Thank you.
And the only thing they found that we were a little delinquent in the parking tickets, there was no follow-up. And it's due really to manpower and necessary to follow up. So we decided to go out and get a third-party administrator to handle the parking tickets. We met with several different companies, met with the judge, the chief, and Mr. Farrell here from FBS Systems. They will be the administrator and handle all the basically administration. They'll handle phone calls, payments. It'll take a lot off the court's plates. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Farrell to give us a little presentation.
Good evening, Supervisor, member of the Town Board. Thank you very much for having me here. To introduce myself, I'm Dennis Farrell, founder and president of Fundamental Business Services, also known as FBS. We have been in the business of providing services to town, village, and city courts since 1983. We do business statewide. We handle large courts and small courts. A core part of our business is parking ticket management. And as the comptroller just mentioned, Justice Sullivan reached out to me, I think it was probably in October or November of last year, and had indicated concerns in terms of the court's ability, because of priority work in the court, being other priorities such as criminal matters, traffic matters, building housing matters, zoning matters, that he would like to have some assistance with the processing of parking. And that is really a very common relationship. Parking is a lower-end offense violation. It's actually a process in terms of noticing technology to interface with the Department of Motor Vehicles, et cetera, et cetera. So a firm like ours that focuses on that process and has developed and supports the technology specific to provide the court with a better tool, if you will, is really well engaged to provide services to the town court and relieves them of the burden of the processing, the noticing, the follow-up, et cetera. We did meet in November. It was a good discussion. I met with the comptroller and the judge, and then we had a follow-up meeting with myself, the police chief, as well as the comptroller and the judge. And we discussed the process, some changes that we've recommended, and what our system does. Now, the information that I just distributed, booklet, deals with the first piece of business, which is the Case Tracks application. We provide it to the town court to use at no cost. It's been built for the process of parking tickets. And let me interject this, though, and I think it's important. The town court, town justice, always maintains complete control over the dispositioning of the tickets. We really play a role of technology and back office. And one of the primary, I think, outcomes and benefits is, and it may sound silly to say this about a parking ticket, but it actually improves the user's experience in terms of a person who gets a ticket. Because we have a public-facing website so that if a ticket is issued in the town and it's returnable, someone can go online and pay the ticket, which makes it very easy. They can do that 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. We provide noticing, which is discipline, so that if the ticket is outstanding, they receive a notice right away and they're made aware of it so that they can turn around and answer the ticket. And we provide to the court the tools, the technology to manage these cases, which is updating dispositions, updating payments, putting people on court for conferences and/or trials. And the built-in intelligence in that application really helps them to manage these violations very easily and efficiently. The outcome is improved compliance, a better and more efficient court system, and I think very truly better services to the public. As I said, we've been, I think, 33 plus years. We do courts from Buffalo to Montauk Point. We have a lot of experience. It's very diverse. I think we enjoy an excellent reputation statewide because we do what we say we're going to do. We're folks of integrity. We know we work for the court. We understand the court's mission, and we just have a good reputation. Any questions?
Could you explain to me the method and how you actually get paid? Because I'm looking at this, it says it's based on us getting paid, so.
Yes.
Where's your percentage come in?
Our percentage is paid after the ticket falls into delinquency. So if a summons is issued and it's returned on time, there's no cost to the town. If a summons is issued and it's not answered and it goes beyond a late date, for example, and notices and things like that are going out, then there is a fee on it. If a ticket is dismissed, there's no fee. If a ticket is voided, there's no fee. If a ticket is canceled, there's no fee. So the town liability, if you will, would be on payments that are made and only the payments that are made late.
Just for instance, what's a typical fee that would be late for a parking ticket? Like, I don't know the mechanism. How much would it be after a delinquency of, what, say 90 days? What would the fee be? Any idea? On average, you don't have to give me specifics.
The fee that's been quoted in our proposal to the town is 30% after 30 days.
Okay.
So if a summons is paid, let's say, for example, $100 is paid, the fee would be $30 on that $100. But the idea behind the mechanism, if you will, the formula, our remuneration formula, is that, let's say for argument's sake, and you have to remember, we're doing the processing of 100% of the tickets, starting with data entry, warehousing the data, doing the technology piece, which is the interface with the Department of Motor Vehicles, updates of names and addresses, sending out first notices, second notices, third. It's actually a series of 6 notices. And within the framework of our contract, we're paying all paper processing, postage, technology, support costs. So your fee exposure is only on those summonses that pay late. So let's say, for example, you issue 10 tickets. We anticipate 5 of those tickets to be paid within the voluntary payment period, so there would be no fee. The remaining 5, you may end up very well with 2 of those being dismissed. So at the end of the day, the fee exposure would be based on the 3 tickets of the 10, or 30% of the portfolio, that would be commissionable. We estimate, and it holds pretty true, that the cost per ticket should come in at around $3, which is far more efficient, cost-effective than when the court processes it themselves. And as I indicated, we absorb all of the costs, all of the processing costs. There's no maintenance fee, there's no software cost, there's no licensing costs, there's no postage paper processing costs, you don't have the mailroom operation. We absorb all of those costs, and your exposure is a percentage of income, a percentage of the fees that are paid late.
And do we get a printout of what you've mailed out? So if someone says they never received notification, we have a record of that?
Absolutely. The case track system, if you take a look at the larger of the two, the document that is bound, it discusses the case track system. That is a computer program, an application that our firm has developed. It's actually the third generation. It's web-based, and it's a case management application to manage tickets. Every single ticket that's issued into the town, issued within the town, returnable to the Justice Court, will be entered into that system, so that you will always be able to track the what, the when, the how, and the why. And from the court's perspective, their case record is auditable. It shows every event that takes place from the moment when the conference of jurisdiction takes place and the ticket is entered into the system. It's an excellent reporting system, both financially and workflow quality. So you'll always have a record of it, yes.
So these notifications are done by mail?
They're done by mail.
Okay. And there's no phone calls, there's no harassing phone calls, people don't pay?
No,
Just
not at all.
simply. Okay, what happens if somebody goes through all 6 notices and of course the fee keeps getting compounded for not paying? And if they go through everything and still don't pay, what's the final result?
Remedy under law in New York State provides the Justice Court with a couple of alternatives. One is the New York State Bar Registration Program, and that is if you receive 3 tickets in 18 months within the jurisdiction, your registration can be held. Okay. The other is Section 1806 of the Vehicle and Traffic Law, which deals with a default judgment, and that is you can file a judgment, which actually is a lien on property, and it's executable. It's the same as a civil judgment. In my mind and in our experience, these are the things that we think are significant in terms of compliance. One is that the ticket is easily understood in terms of what the burden is on the person who got it. What do I need to do? When do I need to do it? And, more importantly, what are the ramifications if I don't? Mm-hmm. So we've made recommendations to change somewhat the style and the format of the ticket that's being used in the town so that it actually has a chart and says, if you pay this on time, it's $50. If you don't pay it on time, it's $100. If you really pay it late, it's $150. So the minute I get that ticket on my car, I can see that there is a monetary expense, cost to me if I don't comply. Mm-hmm. The next thing is the website, for example. If I get a ticket, one of the things that we always recommend is tickets should be returnable in a time period, not to a particular court night. Because most folks get a ticket that says, come Wednesday night at 7 o'clock, and everybody has a reason why they can't be there, whether it's work-related or family-related. So in their mind, they've just said to themselves, well, I can't go, I'm going to dump the ticket. When you receive a ticket that says you have 15 days to do this, mm-hmm. We don't care if it's Sunday night at midnight, we don't care if it's Saturday, we don't care if it's Monday, you have 15 days to do this. Mm-hmm. Come to the town court, do it by mail, or click on your phone or click on your browser, access the ticket, make the plea of guilty, and make the payment. Mm-hmm. If you want to plead not guilty, obviously, they would have to come into court and go before the judge. So the idea of having reasonable fines, and we've made recommendations to the town about making some changes, reasonable fines, progressive penalties for failure to answer, and a very accessible system should improve substantially your compliance. Mm-hmm. And after that, when we talk about the court notices and the collection, part of the collection series, the 6 notices I mentioned, 3 go out under the name of the town Justice Court Poughkeepsie, and 3 go out under our company name as a collection agent for the town court. So you're now integrating a collection service, third-party collection service, along with the other legal remedy that I mentioned, which is the default judgment, mm-hmm. as well as the New York State Bar Registration Program. So, as they used to say, you now have a program where your tickets have teeth. You won't collect every single ticket, but you'll improve significantly your overall compliance, and most importantly, you'll improve your voluntary compliance. Now, we do not have statistics in terms of what's happening today in terms of compliance. But let's just, for argument's sake, let's say that you enjoy a 30% compliance voluntary. We would like, and we believe, by making these changes, somewhat to re-engineer the business process or the business model, that you can improve your compliance from 30% to 50%. And then the 50% of the folks that don't comply voluntarily, you now have a program of discipline dunning in it. So it's interesting how it culturally changes behavior, because if you get a ticket today and you never see another notice, it's history. And you realize nothing's going to be done. But if all of a sudden you start to see timely notices that go out every 30 days, and those notices carry a message that the penalty is increasing, or it goes from a court notice to a collection notice, the public begins to change its behavior because they realize the court has a system in place for following them up. And they may not have responded voluntarily, but they will respond at some point during the sequencing of those notices.
How, if, let's say I get a ticket and I don't pay on time, and the collection agencies start the process, how do you communicate to the police department that this person has not paid the ticket? Is that some kind of communication?
No, in our program, we are providing a turnkey, whereas we house the data on our servers. We provide the application for use, not by the police department predominantly, but by the court, so that everything that they're doing and everything we're doing is in lockstep. A disposition, for example, and I didn't bring any business model diagrams with me, but if you can just picture for a moment, a ticket is issued, and let's say the person has 30 days to answer. So in that 30-day period, the court is waiting for an answer, so there's nothing for the court to do. But on the 31st day, or let's say there is an answer, person puts in a plea of not guilty. When the court receives that plea of not guilty, they enter it into the system. They're updating the database that we are managing for them.
Okay.
So it's live, it's dynamic, it's immediate. Anything that happens in terms of the business end in the court is updated to a database that we're managing. So let's say, for example, the person doesn't respond. On the 31st day, the penalty is added and a notice goes out, as it should. So it's managed by the court, if you will, in updating dispositions, which really manage the ticket moving forward.
Okay, thank you. And you said there's no maintenance fee, no license fee, and things of that nature, correct?
Yes, no fees.
So how do you update, how do you maintain your, your process? Do you upgrade it overnight, or how do you use the maintenance process?
Well, when I said maintenance, I meant maintenance cost. We often buy a piece of equipment and we pay $5,000 or $10,000 for it, and with that goes an annual maintenance fee to manage that. Or when you get software, every year you have to purchase a new maintenance fee to get upgrades, and support. With us, we provide the case tracks application to the court for the court's use, and there are no licensing fees, and there is no maintenance fee. We absorb all those costs.
Got it. And how safe is your web browser? I mean, these days everybody trying to get in hacks and stuff like that. How secure is it?
Very secure. Everything that the court does is done VPN on an SSL connection. It can't be more secure than that. In our shop, we have a significant investment of servers. We have Unix operating systems, VMware operating systems, Microsoft operating systems. We have a front line, if you will, in terms of technology as a network and a firewall. We have all kinds of backups, off-site, on-site, and disaster recovery. Yeah. So we have a fairly significant. It's interesting. When I started the company 33 years ago, we were all paper. Today, it's all technology.
Well, that's one of the concerns. The other thing, too, and then last question, I don't mean to take the time, is who does anyone audit you? The Department of Justice, the courts? Who does review your business? Is anybody that looks after and makes sure you're doing the right thing?
Yes, and by way of the court. The Office of Court Administration, the Department of Motor Vehicles, and the New York State Comptroller's Office.
Okay.
Each and every month, the court provides to the Comptroller's Office a financial report. The Department of Motor Vehicles can at any time come in and audit. The court has to prove a business right to access, for example, registration information. We maintain a very specific reporting system for the Department of Motor Vehicles. But if there was an order to take place, the Office of Court Administration would come to the court. The court would use our database as well as our reporting mechanisms to provide them with what they needed, as it would be true with the Department of Motor Vehicles as well as the Comptroller's Office.
Thank you for the President. Thank you for your answer.
My pleasure. Thank you for the questions.
Dennis, 2 quick questions. Are you familiar with the OCA recommendations that we received with the problems or the things that they wanted done with our parking ticket system? And part of that question is, does your system correct all that problem?
I would, without having the list, I would have to say absolutely.
Okay, the checklist that I just went through does it. I just want to hear you say it on the record.
Absolutely.
The second question, and it's going to sound simple, is the police department maintains a name file, data file, license plate files, etc. Is the information in your data file on the parking tickets accessible to them through their normal system, or is it a second step? And the reason I ask the question is, there's a thing called the Son of Sam.
Okay.
That serial murder was arrested because of a parking ticket. So I just want to make sure that if they run a search, that data is accessible to them, as if it was their own.
The answer to the question is yes, but there's a very definitive line, if you will, to separate the work product of the court, which is confidential, and not subject to police observation. But for example, if you could picture when a parking ticket is issued, picture the information that gets picked up. That's the same information that the police can report on. And it was interesting, just last week we had a request, and we interact with the police departments all the time. A lot of the departments have license plate readers today. There's a community on Long Island that has cameras that any way that you would come into the village, it's going to snap your plate, and they run it through a database. So I know that's
illegal.
That's downstate.
Yeah.
I don't go to the village anymore. So the integration of this data with law enforcement is live in real time.
I kind of think that it would only be, did we issue any parking tickets on College Avenue on the night of whatever?
We had a request last week from the police department. They wanted to know tickets that were issued on 348 Main Street between January 1st and June, whatever the date was. So it happens all the time. And the police have access to this information. But one of the nice things about working with our company is a support thing that we have in place. So if the chief needs information, and it might not be an application that the chief uses or someone in the department that uses every day, and they don't want to do the learning curve piece, they call our office up and they just simply say, run us a report, I need it right away. And we run SQL searches all the time and send emails to the police department to give them what they need as quickly as we.
You more than answered both of my questions. Thank you.
It's hard to get me to stop.
I've got a few questions myself. So if you go past the 6th ticket, or the 6th notice, and you don't collect any money, you don't get anything, we don't get anything, correct?
Correct.
You had said earlier that there were new tickets that you sort of said, hey, there'd be new tickets that would have a better explanation compared to ours. Do we have the cost of that, or is that something you supply to us?
That's your cost.
It is. And do we know what that cost is?
Tickets are not expensive. A couple of thousand tickets is a few $100. I mean, it's not a big investment. The interesting thing is when you look at that investment, your return is going to be immediate because you're going to improve voluntary compliance.
Yeah, from 30 to 50, yeah.
Right. So you're going to improve voluntary compliance, and the cost of those tickets are paid for in a couple
well, if they're only a couple
months.
$100, fine. So if there were thousands, then I'd have a concern.
And you have an excellent ticket. The language of the ticket, the layout of the ticket, the recommendations that we've made is predominantly to highlight a couple of things so that it's more user-friendly so that someone they can't but see it. And the other thing is this chart that we recommend, the idea of telling somebody day one that this ticket is going to cost you more tomorrow than it is today. We see that as a very important thing. But overall, your ticket is very good, but I think it's worth the investment to make some minor modifications with it.
One other question. If somebody does not pay, eventually they're going to have to register their car. It's in the system that they have an outstanding parking ticket, so they can't register their car, they can't renew their license. Is that not correct?
No, the New York State scofflaw program, which people call it, and it's also called the bar registration program, you have to have 3 or more violations in a jurisdiction.
Really?
Yeah. Statistically, it's interesting. Statistically, people get 2.2. It's kind of that burden you never get to. And the other thing is that if someone does have 3 or more tickets, and they get a notice from the Department of Motor Vehicles that their registration isn't going to be renewed, they can literally go in and change a middle initial and get that registration renewed. So it's not the brick wall you might think it is. The default judgment, though, is a civil default judgment, and it's good and it's on the books for 9 years. So in certain cases where you have serious repeat offenders, you may very well, or I should say the court may very well want to avail themselves of that Section 1806A and file a judgment.
Does the scofflaw law only give you a certain window to?
18 months.
So I thought, so that was one of the slips that we had, we weren't catching them all in the nick of time to get them in there.
Our system, every month, the clock rolls over, and the first thing on the homepage is the clerk will see, click this button to look at your scoffs. And it gives her a drop-down list of the people who meet that criteria for that month. And all they have to do is check the box, click send, and they're done. And it automatically gets sent to the Department of Motor Vehicles, and their record gets updated, and the person gets a letter to say your registration's going to be held. So it's a really tight system. It's a really good system. It's a well-built system.
It sounds like the 30% is really covering your costs for sending out all the mail and just tracking all that. I guess as long as it's at least 30% higher in the penalty going past the first, the first 30 days, say. I mean, is that what the key of this is, right? I mean,
excuse me. The idea is that you're adding penalties.
Right, better than 30%, though, because if we were to take 30, we don't want to have it beyond lose to the party. Yeah.
And then, but the other thing, and this is important, the town justice, the court, controls absolutely the fines. So if someone appears before the town justice, the justice may go, pay half, or may say, pay the full amount, may dismiss the ticket. The purview and dispositioning is always with the justice. We have no control. So it kind of is where it is, and it is what it is.
Who's your largest municipality that you do business with? I understand you're from Montauk, and you're located in Hempstead.
I'm located in Hempstead in Nassau County, western part of Nassau County.
Yep.
The downstate area in Westchester, Nassau, and Suffolk County, because of the demographics, the populations, and the train stations, we have communities that are doing 40 and 50,000 tickets a month. They're handling millions and millions of dollars a year in parking ticket revenue. So those are big systems. But it's interesting, the town of East Hampton in the Hamptons on Long Island does in 5 months what some villages and towns do in 12.
In 12 months,
It's a ticket haven. It really is. It's a ticket haven on Long Island and in Westchester County. I understand that your volumes are considerably lower, but as I said, our system and our support services and the business model is going to work as well for you as it does for a community that does 40,000 tickets a year.
Yeah. Long Island, you have Long Island Railroad, that people use the railroad a lot because they can go to work, versus here, we don't have transportation, as much transportation as you do down Nassau or Suffolk County. So
I live in a community in Rockville Center. It's one of the, they used to refer to as the bedroom communities to New York. By 8 o'clock in the morning, there's not a parking spot in the village left.
Yeah, my sister lives in Oyster Bay, and then the traffic is terrible when I get to visit.
The traffic is terrible. But no, Long Island and Lower Westchester County is just really. It's interesting. The state comptroller's office has a. It's a really pretty cool thing to look at. They have a New York State map, and it highlights the revenue numbers from town and village justice courts. So all the red is down on Long Island and Westchester County, and then you can follow the thruway as well as a couple of arteries throughout the state, and you can see courts. For example, the town of Colony, which is just outside of Albany, is a very small court, but they do close to $4 million a year in revenue in terms of fines and forfeitures because they're right on 87. Or 87. So it's an interesting thing in terms of revenues and tickets, etc.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, just so everybody knows, one of the main reasons to get this is we have so many non-paid tickets. This is to help pick that up, and it should pay for itself. When they did the audit, one of the issues was over the years of how many outstanding tickets that we had still sitting out there. And some of the recommendations are coming maybe to lower some of the fines, so we'll get them all paid on time and get everything moving in the same time frame.
If I can interrupt for 1 second, because it I forgot. When we start, we convert the data of old tickets from the court. And one of the recommendations that we've made is, with these older tickets, the town may want to consider an amnesty program, which is a forgiveness period. If you take a ticket today and you add on the penalties that have accrued per statute, you're going to have a considerable amount of money that's due. If you run an amnesty program, they're always well-received. It's a friendly way of getting started. And pretty much what an amnesty program does is you can say to the person, you know, you owe us $100 today, but with the amnesty program, we're going to let you pay $60. It's a really good approach to go after that backlog without getting a lot of backs up. It really is. Particularly if you know you haven't done noticing and the folks may not know they had tickets. It's a really friendly way to get started. And then the message is, after the amnesty program, we are going to, use full force and remedial law to go after those folks that are left. So that's just a thought.
Yeah, our parking tickets are on the steep side due to Vassar College, because there used to be a significant problem when Sergeant Jenko was aboard, that we had $25 parking tickets, and we had students who left cars literally on the street for months at a time. And they would go home at the end of the term with a stack of $25 parking tickets like that. They never paid, their parents didn't pay, so they jumped up to $100, and that's significant. And you can't go home with a stack of $100 parking tickets without mom and dad getting pretty upset with you. So that's the reason why it did. Once you get one of those, even though you don't pay it, you don't tend to park there again and make the same mistake twice, because you don't want to have it happen again. So that's the reason why that we have better. But it appears the parking situation around Vassar has improved. Either there's fewer cars or something. It doesn't seem to be as big of a problem with the students, so.
That's what I understand.
Yeah.
When we do the data conversion and we load the data into our system, into our database, we have really strong financial reporting tools. So we'll be able to tell you exactly what's outstanding by year, how many tickets, what the total amount of money outstanding is. And you'll really, I think, maybe for the first time, really get a real solid look in terms of what's outstanding. And you'll have a program in place to address that.
Anybody else?
Well, I'm just saying, 30% is standard in the industry. The other firms we looked at was 30% up front off the original ticket and anything they collected. So by them going after the delinquent, it's a major savings. And we always have to we always bought our parking tickets anyway. It's just redesigning them. So it was all part of the cost. It wasn't,
No worry.
just.
Charlie, what about RFP or bidding? Do we have to do anything like this for this?
We went out to 3 different companies. It's a service, again. I think it's a professional service. But
Okay, so you've done that?
I've done that, yes. The
Okay.
judge has done it,
All
I've
right.
done it. We've called, like I said,
Fine.
and
As long as
interviewed.
we've done it, that's okay
Yes,
with me.
I
Yes.
think it's great.
No, we just had some questions from some board members, so we figured it was just better to bring them in.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for
Thank you,
having.
Dennis.
It was a
Thank you.
pleasure to come up and have a great evening, and I look forward to doing business with the town.
Don't get a ticket on the way home.
Thank you.
Okay, 13, be it resolved that the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby authorize the settlement of the tax certiorari proceedings instituted by Macy's Retail Holdings Incorporated for the tax assessment rolls for 2015, 2016, as shown on the attached order and judgment and stipulation of settlement, and be it further resolved that the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby authorize the supervisor or his designee, town assessor, and Kyle Barnett of Vandewater and Vandewater LLP to sign such papers as are necessary to effectuate said settlement. So moved.
Motion, you have a second? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Mike, 14 got pulled.
Okay.
14 was taken, is it
Yep.
Cherry Road? 14 was taken care of.
15, whereas the town board has received a communication from the Director of Municipal Development regarding an amendment to Chapter 210 entitled zoning, specifically 21083 entitled Mobile Home Park District, and whereas the proposed amendment is attached hereto and incorporated herein, and the town board does hereby waive a verbatim reading of said amendment and does direct that the amendment be spread across the record as if in fact it had been read verbatim, and whereas the action to amend the zoning law is an unlisted action under the New York Environmental Quality Review Act, whereas the town board has determined that the proposed amendment must be referred to the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Economic Development and to the town planning board for review and recommendation, and whereas the amendment requires a public hearing, now therefore be it resolved that, 1, The town board hereby states that because only the town board can consider and adopt changes to the town code, that is the only involved agency, and the board hereby declares that the lead agency for the purpose of coordinating the environmental review of this matter pursuant to Article 8 of the Environmental Conservation Law. And 2, the town board hereby sets a public hearing on the proposed amendments for July 19, 2017 at 7 p.m. or as soon thereafter as the matter may come to be heard in the Town Hall, 1 Old Rocker Road, Poughkeepsie, New York. And 3, the town board refers this matter to Dutchess County Department of Planning and Economic Development for a recommendation pursuant to GML 239M. And 4, the town board refers this matter to the planning board for an advisory report pursuant to Town Code Sections 210-154. And 5, the town board directs the town clerk to notify the town clerks of each of the surrounding municipalities of the public hearing pursuant to GML 239NN. So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any questions on this one? The only thing I ask is, we brought this up at the last meeting prior to bringing this out. Ask the board members before this comes ahead, meet with Neil to discuss what's going on down there so everybody has a good, comfortable feeling of where we're going with the mobile home park. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Resolution number 16, whereas the town board has received a communication from Director of Municipal Development recommending an amendment to Chapter 210 entitled Zoning, specifically section as outlined in the attached referring to a special use permit, and whereas the proposed amendment is attached here to incorporate it herein, and the town board does hereby waive a verbatim reading of said amendment, it does direct and said amendment be spread across the record as if they, in fact, has been read verbatim, and whereas the action to amend the zoning law an unlisted action under the New York Environment Quality Review Act, and whereas the town board has determined that the proposed amendment must be referred to Dutchess County Department of Planning and Economic Development and the town planning board for review and recommendation, and whereas the amendment requires a public hearing, now therefore that be resolved that the town board hereby states because the only town board can consider it and adopt changes to the town code, and that it is the only involved agency that the board hereby declares that it has a lead agency for purpose of coordinating the environment review on this matter pursuant Article 8 of the Environmental Conservation Law. And the town board hereby sets a public hearing on the proposed amendments for July 19, 2017 at 7 p.m. or as soon thereafter as the matter might come to be heard in the town hall. 1 Rocker Road, Poughkeepsie, New York. The town board refers this matter to Dutchess County Department of Planning and Economic Development for recommendation pursuant to GML 239-M. And the town board refers this matter to the planning board for advisory report pursuant to Town Code Section 210-154. The town board directs the town clerk to notify the town clerks of each of the surrounding municipalities of the public hearing pursuant GML 239-NN. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions on this one? This is the same with this one here. Everybody, prior to the public hearing, meet with Neil and Jim Challey if you have any questions on this to make sure everybody's comfortable. If there's anything they would like to change, not, bring up the last minute. We gave you a decent window to really look into this. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby set the 19th day of July 2017 at 7 p.m. at Town Hall, Town of Poughkeepsie, 1 Over Rocker Road, Poughkeepsie, New York, as and for the time, date, and place of a public hearing to consider an amendment in substantially the form attached to the Town Board Chapter 174 entitled Streets and Sidewalks, which amendment would read as follows. Repeal 174-21 through 174-35 Streets and Sidewalks, Article 4 Excavations, add 174-21 through 174-36 Streets and Sidewalks, Article 4 Excavations. See attached. Be further resolved, the town board does hereby waive the verbatim reading and does direct that said amendment be spread across the record as if, in fact, it had been read verbatim. And be further resolved, the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does determine that this action is a type 2 action requiring no environmental review. And be further resolved, The said amendment, if adopted, will take effect immediately upon filing with the Secretary of State. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any question on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes 7-0. Resolved, the Town Board of Town of Poughkeepsie is hereby appoint Anthony C. Balbo to the Board of Ethics to fill the unexpired term of Ann Bowman, which term expires on February 28th, 2021. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Just so everybody knows, we are still looking for one more spot on there. I think it's yours, Ann.
Yeah, it's
that
a
ward.
board.
And after talking to a resident today, we will make sure it's on the website tomorrow with the qualifications for that.
Be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby approve the request submitted by Locust Grove, the Samuel Morse Historic Site, to hold an antique car show on Sunday, July 9th, 2017, on the site at Locust Grove, 2683 South Road, Poughkeepsie, New York. And be it further resolved that a certificate of liability insurance naming the Town of Poughkeepsie as an additional insured has been filed in the Town Clerk's office. So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any question on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
All I have is documents to follow.
I'll read it.
Number 20?
We read it?
Well, it's 20. You don't have 20? You're off one.
I'll read it. I got it. Be it
Oh,
resolved.
wait, if I got it, I got it. We're on 20?
Yeah.
Be it resolved, the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby concur with the Joint Landfill Board of Governors bid award to Navy Landscaping, Inc. in regard to Dutchess County Airport Joint Landfill Land Clearing and Vegetation Removal Contract. And be it further resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby ratify the supervisor's execution of a contract with Navy Landscaping, Inc., a copy of which is attached. So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any questions on this? This is just that, we have the Joint Landfill Commission, and being that I'm the chair, we're just passing here so everybody knows that we passed okay for Neve to do this and it went out to bid. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. 21.
21 was pulled, so I'll do 22. Be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby accept the minutes for the following 2017 Town Board meetings, to wit, March 1st, 2017 special regular Town Board meeting, March 8th, 2017 special committee of the whole meeting, March 15th, 2017 regular Town Board meeting, April 5th, 2017 regular Town Board meeting, April 13th, 2007 special meeting dealio hearing, April 19th, 2017, regular committee of the whole meeting, May 3rd, 2017, regular town board meeting, May 10th, 2017, special committee of the whole meeting. So moved.
Second.
The motion second. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
About a minute.
23 is a notice of claim, a lone roller versus the town. And does that bring us to
That looks like
our
that's the end
agenda?
of it, yep.
Make a motion to suspend rules for any public comment on any.
Also,
Oh, I didn't see that. Go ahead, Mike.
We have SC1. Be it resolved, Town Board, Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby approve the application submitted by Scott Cornell on behalf of the Tri-State Scomoderma Foundation to hold the Poughkeepsie Scomoderma Walk.
Sorry, Mike, that was last week. That was,
Oh, all right. I guess we don't have that.
that happened on
Jesse.
Saturday, that happened on Saturday.
Did I say that
Went
word?
well.
Yeah. That was
you
it.
were the only guy that had it, Mike. We were nervous.
I was really nervous.
All right.
We have a motion to suspend rules for any item.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Would anybody like to say anything? Doreen?
So on some of those appointments for the police officers, did some people read deputy supervisor
Yes.
to sign it?
It said it on all
Out
of
of the
them.
legal office, it was a typo.
Yeah.
So is the deputy supervisor signing, or is the
He'll
town
sign 'em.
supervisor signing?
We can let the,
Supervisor. sign.
So even though it said deputy, the supervisor will sign?
There is a deputy supervisor, but the supervisor will sign. Most of them were, or several of them were orally corrected,
yeah.
Well,
but not all of them.
no,
There's
not
three of
all.
them that weren't.
Yeah, I definitely heard 7 and 8 and potentially one other one.
Right. I apologize.
Okay. It's fine. The Macy's agenda item, so to lower the taxes, so it looks like it was about $1 million for 2016 and then nearly $2 million lowered through 2020. So again, town residents end up picking up the difference for that when you lower taxes. Now, this looked a little different where you didn't have to, there was nothing that you had to pay them back for previous years?
No, it was 0 for that 1 year.
Okay. All right. And again, you know,
Doreen, they seem to come back every year, so I think that's why we're not paying back as far. They seem to, as soon as we clean them up, they seem to file again.
okay. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about was the final stormwater report that the town submitted to the DEC. And I have to say that I still disagree with some of the comments that were made in response to my comments. I don't care how many times the town says it, it just isn't true that the silt fencing at Vassar College was properly maintained. And also, it seemed a little disingenuous when they were talking about the, my comment about that the town had exceeded the amount of work that was done on the Zacks Way wetland, and that it had exceeded the allowable permit requirements by the DEC. I mean, you know, they said it was, and this is the response to my comment about that. A modified wetland permit application was coordinated with the project's wetland consultant when it was determined that more improvements than anticipated were needed. Well, that isn't what happened. I turned them in, DEC inspected because of my complaint, and then it was required of them to get a modified permit because they did exceed. So, like I said, some of these responses just read like fiction. And I realize, Jay, that you sign this, you go by what the engineering or planning departments tell you, but there are several of those comments that just are not right. So I'm going to comment on those responses, and I will submit those to the DEC, and I'll just keep doing that until at least
We
they...
get it right?
Well, yeah, I mean, at least just admit it, okay, we made a mistake, we'll try to do better in the future or something, but to say it didn't happen when you know it happened and there's, documents proving that it happened, it's, to me, that's just unacceptable. So, and again, I appreciate the fact that you said you will start posting positions that are available to like all the different boards, just so town residents, and again, like I said to you, even like for paid ones, I mean, it just, I didn't want to belabor this before because there were a lot of people around waiting, but, it just to me didn't look right that there was a position available. It just happened to be, going to, the daughter of a town employee, and it just wasn't, nobody else knew about it. So again, if you just want to avoid the, appearance of any impropriety, I would suggest that those things be put on the town website, and you've been better about posting things for...
No, we did, Doreen. We started posting the full-time ones because somebody else brought it up earlier on that it wasn't something being done. We post them throughout town hall, the website. As I said, some of the ones we posted now, we post them through the county. As far as the part-timer, it totally slipped my mind.
And the legal notices are now posted. I appreciate that. So, it's just, again, transparency just makes it a lot better.
Doreen, we try to take public opinion to its highest, and we get most of it right, I think. We're trying.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else?
Yeah, Mr. Supervisor, just for the record, would somebody want to make a motion to delete the word deputy from the police hiring resolutions this evening?
I will second that notion.
I make the motion. He seconded it.
Bill's going to second it.
Make it, I'm second.
Or he can,
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 7-0 to delete the deputy.
Thank you.
I mean, the reference to
Oh,
deputy.
the reference to
Oh,
deputy.
delete the deputy, okay, thanks.
Sir,
Yes.
come right up. Sorry, Mr. Casement.
Does the town have any policy regarding dead trees along the road?
Mr. Casement, the thing that you're talking about, unfortunately, our zoning administrator has been feeling ill.
What's
So we
that?
have the zoning administrator that I wanted to talk to about removing that. She's been feeling ill. And I think today we just appointed someone to help out. So we'll be moving on to that, but she hasn't been feeling very good. So I haven't forgotten about you.
So is it something that's in the right of way?
Couple of piles, no, I visited Mr. Caseman's house and across the street in the back of the yard, there's a couple of piles of some brush. And that was his intention. I wrote to Neil about it and he told me that Sarah wasn't doing well, so.
Well, that was the brush. Dead trees also, you said?
Yeah, you know, all of that, we want to get that looked at for you up there. I know we had driven around your area
Yeah,
there and you pointed
right.
out a few things and we're on the steps of getting it handled and hopefully we'll get it taken care of.
And
for you.
the other thing I'm concerned about is that Mark says he's going to be repaving our road. But even though the storm sewer is collapsed and not working, and that's what ruined some of the road, he says he doesn't have money to fix the storm sewer. And I think that's wrong to put a new road in if the storm sewer is going to bust it up again. In front of my house and going all the way down to Suzie Boulevard, there's like a blind ditch. It doesn't have any pipe in it. So when the water gets in it, it flows down. When it gets down towards the bottom of the hill, it freezes and the water doesn't run in it because it's only maybe a foot deep or so. And also in front of my house is a pipe that goes across the road. When they originally put the storm sewer in, they didn't put the pipe deep enough. So the frost gets in under it and heaves it up every winter. And that makes like a speed bump right there. And those things I think should be taken care of before they put a new blacktop down.
I'll talk to Mark about that. Joe, you're familiar with that
Mark
area?
said he didn't have it in his, it didn't have the money for it, so.
Mr. Pfeiffer, you want to come up?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Caseman.
Oh, you're here.
Come on back. I didn't say that we didn't have we don't have enough money to replace all the drains on the street. When we repave the street, we inspect all the pipes and all of the catch basins. We raise the catch basins, we make sure they're in good shape, and if there is a bad pipe, we will change it. If the one that crosses the street from his house is, I think when we repave it, it will stop the speed bump. The blind ditch that goes down from Mr. Caseman's house down to Suzie Boulevard was put in about, that's where I lived, so I'm going to say it was put in about 40 years ago. It was a blind ditch that was put in because most of the septics fell up there. And blind ditch was put in years ago. The septics have been replaced. I don't know if it's used quite as is, but that development needs central sewage. It's not a drainage factor. I can't put sewer system into the storm drains. So for that to be fixed would be not a very good thing for us to do. So again, it was put in a long time ago, probably 40 years ago. The road is totally broken up now, but as we repave it and we shim and we pave, and it'll keep the road in good shape for a long time. But that street needs sewage bad. So whether or not that'll ever happen is very expensive, and there's no place for it to go. So that's the issue with that one. But as far as the catch basins and the pipes, we will be inspecting all those. If there's something bad, it will get fixed.
Yeah, and the share mark?
Yeah, it's coming up. We're going to start up there probably either Monday coming or after the 4th.
Guys did a great job in the 4th Ward, by the way.
Thank you.
We're going to look walks in Bradley Village, my paving down in Fairview, excellent.
So you're going to look into what may need to be fixed there?
Yeah,
You're going-
and when
okay.
we're doing roads, we check all the pipes, do all the stuff. If there's something bad, we'll replace it.
Okay.
Yeah, Mark, I just want to comment to you that you have sent a postcard for, and I know the weather, it's been raining almost every other day, and that obviously delays the maintenance of the paving of the roads.
Right.
I like the idea that you let the residents know that, your street will be paved, but you don't know when, because people are waiting to say, oh, they told me my road's going to be paved, but where are they? So it's good that you communicate with the residents that it's coming. So
Yeah, we're trying. I mean, we're trying to do 30 roads a year, and the some of the factor, which I don't promise anybody for sure, which they're coming, is because Central Hudson's been putting a lot of gas in the streets. So if Central Hudson's going to come and they're going to put gas lines in, the gas lines are in. That's all fine. That's done. But you have a big development. All the people, they don't all hook up right away. So, within 2 years, 3 years, they want to hook up. So I like to give them a little chance to hook up before we get done, and Central Hudson digs the road right up. So it makes it a little tricky on some of those. So that's the ones that we're Oil prices came down, so Central Hudson kind of backed off a little bit. We had a meeting with them this year and with Bill, with the Infrastructure Committee, and they only had one road that they were doing so far this year, which was Kaywood, and they're over there doing it. But again, I've been trying to pave Colburn for a few years, and there's a lot of houses in Colburn, and we're trying to give them a note that, we'll give you a few years to hook up, and then if you don't, you can't come in the road for 5 years, because we're not going to pave it and have you dig it up. So it seems to be working well. We're getting there. That's part of the new things that we're trying to do with the excavation law.
Yeah, and that's a good thing because I know I missed the last meeting because years ago we tried to connect and with Todd and Central Hudson to be better communication when we do the road and then all of a sudden 2 weeks later here's Central Hudson or a private contract start breaking the road. So I think that communication has improved much better because we had a meeting I think maybe 2 years ago trying to get Central Hudson at the same page with the town, so.
They come to infrastructure every year.
Right, once a year. They've been
Once a
coming,
year,
yeah.
and we give them the report on what we plan to do that year so that they know. When we did this excavation law, which is digging into new roads, we gave them a copy of it.
It's a good thing.
Gave them a copy of it at the meeting and said, please, if you need anything in this or if this doesn't meet, please get back to us. They said it matches what other communities are doing, so. They seem to be very good with us.
Central Hudson has improved a lot of communication. They've done a good job.
Done a very good job.
Yeah. Thank you, Mark. Thanks,
Mark,
Mark.
you made a very good point.
Mark.
Thanks.
Mark, the point that you made, I think, is good. Not everybody realizes, just because Central Hudson puts the line in, that doesn't mean everybody hooked up. So you get that call, now they put the line in, I want my road done. Not everybody realizes it may not be done that year. So there is a reason behind why you may not be
Why we have
paving
to
the
wait
next
a
year
little
too, give them a chance to hook in and think that when they see the road done, they automatically assume, all right, Central Hudson's done, let's hook up.
go, yeah.
And they don't realize that piece is missing.
Might come
Some are
back.
on one side of the road, the other ones, they gotta cross the road on them also.
Yeah, that
It makes a difference.
difficult. And they won't come through and put stubs out for every house. They don't do that. If they would do that, we wouldn't have an issue if they'd put the line in and put a stub in everybody's lawn, but they don't do that. So,
All right, thanks, Mark.
thanks.
Thank you, Mark.
Anybody else? Can make a motion to resume the rules.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Perfect.
Be resolved, the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby adjourn to executive session to consider the following matters to wit: real estate matters to the extent that public disclosure of the discussion would substantially affect the value of the property; confidential communications between the attorney and his client, the town board based on the attorney-client privilege; and matters leading to the hiring of a particular firm or corporation. So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Town board goes into executive session at 8:12 PM.